Okay, Susan, I'm walking in. So I'm going to show you this part in the day first. You can get a little bit of a better look to it. And they go around a little here. And, let's see, wait a minute. So then we'll come back through here. So you can see how great size it is. Okay, let me show, and then I think you already saw the corner here. So this part right here, hey everybody, I'm going to be making some homemade enchiladas. The sauce isn't necessarily homemade, but it is something that my mother was taught years ago. We grew up in a challenging environment, and not we, but my family, and we lived in a small town, and we had some lovely neighbors, Henry and Henrietta. Henrietta was a local lady, and Henry was her husband, and he was from Mexico. He was this short little guy. He was an amazing cook, and he taught my mom how to cook Mexican food. And just amazing what they showed my mom how to do. And so, and I used to watch, you know, when he was showing her how to cook. So I learned as I went as well. And then I've been making these enchiladas for years. I don't make them very often because it's very time consuming, but I do love to make them. And so they lived next door, and what we lived in used to be a Manzanar barrack, and they were turned into apartments. So we actually lived in one of those Manzanar barracks. Anyway, it's still there. Our old apartment is still there, and we moved there after we left the fish hatchery, and then shortly after that my father had passed away. So in the meantime, and Billy had left the area, so they went to another fish hatchery. So long story short, we had the greatest neighbors, that Manzanar barrack, and they taught my mother how to cook delicious Mexican food. And as we all know, when you eat Mexican food, there's an abundance of it, and you can spread it out for a really good meal. So anyway, but I'm anxious to show you how my mother learned and how I learned, and I don't need a recipe anymore. I just make them. So it may be traditional in a lot of ways, and in some ways not, but it certainly taught me a lot about these people who were just our lovely neighbors, and how good they were to my mother. Anyway, so I'll be right back and show you the ingredients. Hang on. So a lot of the ingredients, what I came up with today with the meat that we're using is some tri-tip. So I've got shredded tri-tip right here. I've got some chopped green scallions. Now, they do not go inside the enchiladas. They're the outside. And I do put a little bit of olives in mine, and some olives. I have some queso fresco. This is some cornstarch. We're going to be using that to thicken up the sauce a little bit. This is beef broth from the tri-tip. And by the way, I just salt and pepper the tri-tip when I cook it. And then I'm going to take this off the stove real quick. So I have some enchilada sauce, but I'm going to show you how we doctor it up. I have some boiled onions with the juice. And then, of course, over here I've got some oil ready to go. So we'll keep going on with this. So one thing that Henry taught my mother was to add to the Los Palmos sauce, enchilada sauce. Obviously, I didn't make the sauce by hand or by scratch. I would love to try that, but I haven't done that yet. Anyway, so to boil onions, the boiled onions will go into the meat for the inside the enchiladas, and the boiled onion juice goes in the sauce. Also, the beef broth from the tri-tip will go in here. I'll just put a little bit in there. Don't need too much. And then I'll get the boiled onions that we have here, and then I'll get the juice out and pour that in to the sauce as well. Whoop. Strain that just a little bit. Okay, we're gonna cook that down a little bit, let that blend together, and then we'll keep moving on. So we've got some cornstarch in here to thicken up the sauce a little bit, mixed in with some of that wonderful tri-tip beef broth. So I'm going to pour that into the sauce. Once we get everything all squared away and heated up, I do take a little bit of the sauce and I put it inside what is going to be the inside of the enchiladas, the stuffing. I put a little bit in there. And notice, see how the sauce is much thicker after putting the cornstarch in there. So mix that up. Then I'll show you what's going to happen next. The onions, the boiled onions, the cheese, and a little bit of olives I put in here with that wonderful tri-tip. And so we're going to start rolling these. So what my mom always did, or what Henry taught my mom how to do to soften these corn tortillas, you just put them in the fryer, some hot oil for a couple of seconds or so. Then you let some of that drain off. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Then you dip it in the sauce, not too far. Put it in the pan. Get your meat. Let's put that over there. Get some of your meat and your stuffing. Put it in there. Don't fill them up too much. And then you roll them up. There's one. Let's try another one. Fry it in the oil just for a couple of seconds or so, just to soften it up. Without having to dip it in there. You can see why I don't make these very often. Then dip it in the sauce. Pull it out. Put it in the pan. Stuff it again. Oop. I don't know what happened there. Stuff it again. What I'll do is I'm going to keep rolling and we'll move it on fast forward. Here we go. I'm making our youngest son some tacos. Okay, so these beautiful things are ready for the oven.
Smells like chicken.
You can even smell it. It's not chicken, it's tri-tip. Anyway, tri-tip enchiladas. Come join us for dinner in a few minutes.
Where do you want those?
I wish they could see our enchiladas.
It's kind of dark. Don't think the candle's bright enough.
Oh, I forgot my drink. No, and I can't.
Does it look?
Thank you.
There's your water with lemon in it.
They're not gonna hear you.
Oh.
He said there's water with lemon in this. Well, cheers, honey. Cheers to Enchiladas and Henry and Marietta, our neighbors.
Who?
At the Well, my neighbors. They weren't your neighbors, but you knew where we lived. It's still there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
The Manzanar,
Barracks building.
yeah, the Manzanar Barracks building is still there. And learned how to make enchiladas from those lovely people. And there's Fred barking at monsters.
Fred, the monster's okay.
Yeah, Fred. The coyotes haven't started yet. Anyway, have a nice evening, you guys. Glad you're having dinner with us and glad you came along. And you're always welcome at the
Lazy Sage Ranch.
Lazy Sage Ranch. Cheers.